To Invictus Motors, we've got this Porsche 911 Carrera S. This is the 992.1. You've now got the 992.2s. What I love about the 992s is the design. I think it's beautiful. It's absolutely a work of art, whether you look at it from the front or from the rear. This bonnet reminds me of the design that we had on the 993s. It's that really sort of rectangle square lines that you get on the bonnet, especially here at the bottom. Finished in the Porsche pure white, complemented with the 20-inch 911 Carrera S alloys. You've got the LED matrix headlights as well, and these vents, they open and close depending on the driving condition. What I love about this 911 is the spec. It blows, me away. I mean, I love the fact that this glass roof all in black, this rear, glass also in black with a grille, breaks up the white beautifully. On the inside, you've got the Sport Seats Plus. These are with the hardback, and you've got the Porsche crest on the headrest. You've got four-way electrically adjustable seats, the sport steering wheel, which is heated, the Chrono Sport Plus package with a sports exhaust button as well, and you've got Bose. And really, in terms of a specification, this has everything you would really want in a 911. And you come to the back of it, the 992s really takes your breath away, and this is genuinely a work of art. And in terms of the servicing, this is currently in stock with us. It's had this big major service in July 2025 that's had the spark plugs, the PDK transmission service done, the drive belt, and a big major service with all the filters being replaced. And it also has Porsche warranty until March 2027. And if you're wondering what the previous generation to this in terms of a design really look like, this is the kind of silhouette that you got design wise, and this is the 991.1 Carrera S. Obviously you've got the 991.2 afterwards, but silhouette wise, this is what you're looking at. I think what this really needs next is for us to take it out for a drive and tell you a little bit more about what it's like to drive, what it sounds like, and how it ultimately handles. But for less than £70,000, I think this is now definitely amongst one of those really nice sweet spots and a bit of a bargain. Behind the steering wheel, with the sunroof being opened up, it's important to also deactivate your stop-start. I call it engine killer just because of what it does to your engine, suddenly switching it off. I've also forgotten the fact that this also has the cruise control, and I just love the look of the steering wheel, the way it holds. I think it's a beautiful wheel to hold design-wise, ergonomically, incredibly friendly. And in the generation, not just before this, but in the first generation of the 991.1 with the red 911 that I just showed you, the Sports Chrono, the Sport Plus, and the Sport button was normally selected somewhere here, and this is where it was based. Whereas on the 992s, even in the 991.1s, they've started to give us this beautiful little dial that you twist to the right to put in sports mode, Sport Plus, or the individual mode, or the wet mode, so you can select all the various modes through that dial over there. This is the stalk for the cruise control, another very useful function to have. The current customer that owned this, Joe, he's done quite a few trips going to Italy and a few other countries, and when you own a car like this, you do want to make the most of it, which is to explore the world and do some road trips. Now, I also love this bit right here. Rather than it be black or sort of just completely aluminium, it kind of brings the outside onto the inside of the vehicle, a beautiful, lovely touch to the car. And in terms of performance, just to kind of get into the numbers of it, this is 3-litre twin-turbocharged and producing more power than ever before in a 911. And that is 0 to 60 miles per hour possible in 3 seconds. That is quick. And of course, with a slight tune, I'm sure Porsche underestimates their numbers. You can easily get it done in 2.9 seconds. In terms of the horsepower, from the 3-litre twin turbocharged flat 6 boxer engine, It produces 443 brake horsepower, 530 Newton meters of torque, and a top speed of a phenomenal 191 miles per hour. And I was just telling my colleagues some statistics. Another really funny statistics is if you're driving at 60 miles an hour and you need to come to a complete halt, it takes circa 26 meters. So the quickest it's ever been. And a slight little comparison, when you compare this to a 2010-2011 Porsche 911 Turbo, which is the 997.2 turbos, the performance numbers on that are slightly slower than this. This is a quicker car. That does, the 997.2 Turbo does 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. And this doing 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. It's just mad. And another car to actually put this in perspective with, I'm just going to close the glass roof so that you're not getting a lot of unnecessary feedback, is we've had quite a few of the McLaren 570Ss. They do, and they take a lot of, you know, the performance and the tech from the F1 cars. They do the 0 to 60 in circa 2.8, 2.9 seconds. And Porsche does not disappoint in that regard. So hopefully I've done this 911 a bit of justice doing this review to kind of cover the essentials in terms of the way it looks, the way it handles, and ultimately there isn't a better, I think, sports car one could buy with that sort of money than a 911, because it's really reassuring and the reliability is unbelievable. I did forget in that performance section to also cover that for the first time the PDK transmission comes with an 8-speed PDK transmission rather than a 7-speed. So you've got that extra gear, which is quite good for economy. It's obviously all now a digital screen. You've still got quite a few of these old school buttons. Feels incredibly economically handy to touch and to hold, a bit like holding one of those shaving machines. And that's just because they don't want you to be slipping on these. And that digital display here is, again, another very useful display. You can go through that quite well. And this is the map in full large. So hopefully I've done it some justice, and I think what I need to do after I've covered all the facts is to take it out for some spirited driving. I'm not sure how well you can hear this sound, but a lot of people, and I think I'll say pessimists would say the 992 doesn't really sound, or they're turbocharged, as good as, you know, its predecessor, or the 991.1, the naturally aspirated. But the turbos, they have their own beauty, their own character. The way they gurgle, the way they sound, and the pops and the bangs, and ultimately it goes back down to your driving style as well. I think if you want this to be exactly this, which is to pop and bang for you, then it will do that incredibly well. And if you wanted to drive it spiritedly, and it will fulfill that function better than any other 911 ever has performance-wise. And if you wanted to just be poodling along, driving it sensibly and driving it as a gentleman, then the 992 doesn't disappoint in that department either. And ultimately, it's the perfect combination of both. And the way the world is headed, with them pushing, you know, the legislation pushing EVs down our throat, I think Porsche has done incredibly well to keep the 911 as pure as they possibly have, and also meeting the strict legislation with emissions, etc., that they are always trying to enforce and make it stricter and stricter. So to conclude, should you buy a Porsche 911 992? Absolutely. Does it tick performance-wise, handling, comfort-wise, all the boxes you would want a 911 to tick? Yes, it does. And would I see myself spending that sort of money on something else? I think it has to be an incredibly fun and great car, reliability, handling-wise, performance-wise, than the 992 for me to consider. So hopefully I've given the 992 some level of a critique, and if it's something that you're interested in buying, something you're looking to put your money in, then honestly don't hold back on that fun and that joy, because numbers in a bank account is just numbers on a paper, and somebody else is having fun with that money. So put it into something like this and you couldn't go wrong. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate that, and see you next time.